Well, rugby union is starting to explode here in South Australia, so we thought we'd better find out exactly what's going on. So we've got the CEO in, Carl Jones. We've got Leesa Kenny in, the development officer. Of course, the great Barry Curtin's with us. Let's start with you, Leesa. Women's sports just been a massive explosion with AFL, and suddenly we're seeing it in rugby. How's it going this season with rugby union?
Oh, it's great. We're in the middle of a really exciting time. We're in the middle of our first ever women's sevens series, pre-season sevens series. So we're running a 4-week competition of rugby sevens just for the women.
Let's talk about the rugby sevens. Of course, on the back of the Olympic Games, the gold medal, suddenly there was a big following, and it kind of has a nice flow on. Do you think it'll continue with the Commonwealth Games? Already a lot of talk about the sevens in the Com Games coming up. Is that helping you in your role as a development officer?
Oh, for sure. It gives young women in the sport some role models to look up to, and I really think that the girls are going to perform coming into the Commonwealth Games. I think it's really exciting.
It has to boom. It has to boom, really. Given, Phil said, the AFL women, the Matildas, the soccer team, it's everywhere now. So
That's
really,
right,
it's the time to jump on board and whatever. Is this new, or have you been going for a little while? Have you been going for a couple of years, or
so
we've
had women playing rugby union in SA for 22 years.
Okay, there you go.
We've had some ups and downs. Definitely on the up at the moment. So we've got 8 teams competing in our sevens comp at the moment. And then that's going to continue on. 8 teams playing in our 15s, our full 15-round fixture.
So. Leesa, I'm really interested, when you mention the word rugby, especially in South Australia, if we're in New South Wales and Queensland, it's a whole different story.
For sure,
But here there's that fear of it's a brutal game. I don't know how you don't think the AFL isn't. I don't know how you don't think netball, basketball, they all have that contact in it. Do you come up against parents that go, I'd really like my daughter to play, but it's a rough game?
I think sevens is a really good way to get new players into the game. It gives them some exposure to, the contact side of things, but it's really fun. It's a fast game.
Open game.
It's an open game. There's not as much contact, so there's not as much physicality to it. You get to run around, have fun with your teammates, score lots of tries, and then once you've built those relationships with your teammates, then you try and, bring them into the game of 15s.
Carl, you've been around a bit longer than Leesa. Have you seen the big change, the big transformation to women into rugby?
Yeah, definitely. When I first came on board 15 years ago now, I think we were up around the mark, but we're relying on quite a lot of expats. Now we've got developing from high schools coming into regular rugby, which is a tick, I suppose, for those who've been involved with the development of the game at awareness level. Getting those kids, we've got high school sevens competitions, under 16s and under 18s. We've got, as we say, 8 senior teams now in the competition, so it's growing. And just on your point, on the safety aspect and the perception, Rugby
it's
Australia...
It's an unfair perception, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Well, where the contact's coming from all the time, and that's different to AFL, obviously. It's 9 times out of 10 front-on contact, and you can brace for it.
Yep.
But there's a lot of research gone into, Rugby Australia has invested a lot of money into concussion management, and we have a blue card. We're the first sport to have it. So if the referee actually spots something, which the trainer or the coach doesn't want that player off because he's a superstar player or whatever, you can actually send them off with the blue card. Wow. And they can't play for 19 days. And that initiates a process which is a gradual return to play. So it's not the immediate, it's not like a red card or a yellow card, it's discussion. Right, well, I saw it differently. Yep. He was definitely out for 5 seconds. By the time you got there, he was round and he was competent, but I saw it, so err on the side of caution and blue card.
Wow.
Are you hands-on, your role? You spent some time with Port Adelaide.
Yes.
As a tackling coach.
Yeah.
Are you hands-on?
Not as much now.
My positions. Word to use there.
But I was a state coach for a number of years and coached most grades in state, and I coached the club here as well, Port Adelaide. But I did when Choco, Peter Road, I think, got me down the club when they were, I think, 16th at that time in the tackle count. So did a couple of years at Port Adelaide and
enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was great. And working with professional athletes, without a doubt, it was hard to get the message across at times because bit of arrogance from some of them, but it's certainly helped.
There's been a big swing with the rugby coaches coming in now to do the tackling.
Yeah.
What was the one thing that stood out when you first walked in and watched the tackling?
I think to me, an AFL player always plays tall, and to get an effective tackle when you're always tall is very difficult. So a little dip, and then the stick, obviously, it's a hit and stick, because when you are tall, your chin's away. To be able to get your chin and your cheek close to the play and keep it on there is going to give it an effective tackle, as opposed to just smashing people, knocking them down. That's not what it was about. It was about that hit and stick.
Did you have to change much of their technique?
The tracking and certainly the tracking side, but also preempting. If there's two players and one ball carrier, two defenders don't need to go to one ball carrier. You should have confidence on the person, and in rugby, you always have the confidence on the person inside you to take that player, and you go on the next player. Now, to get that into the minds of AFL, and I saw a bit of it at the weekend, but to be able to run that next attacker down before he's got the footy and actually put some pressure on as he receives the footy, you're then hitting him, as opposed to two being taken out by one player.
I think we need to get on the good news.
Sorry.
That's great. Melbourne Rebels, you formed a relationship now with the Rebels.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we've been working with them pretty closely, as Victoria being our arch rivals, but also our closest professional team. So Melbourne Rebels have a team in the Super Rugby and have a fully professional outfit there with the Super W, which we've got two of our women from South Australia in the Super W for Melbourne Rebels, which is a new competition this year. And basically with the MOU that we've signed, we have access to players throughout the year. So we've got a junior gala day on Sunday at Waite. We'll have 1,000 kids running around, and we'll have two of the current players from the Melbourne Rebels there handing out merchandise. And each of our junior players who are registered actually get membership with the Melbourne Rebels, and their Rebel Rising membership, which means certain merchandise, socks and hats and what have you. So that's a big plus, because we don't have that link to professional side only the Wallabies at the moment. So, and people don't really know who they are in South Australia.
No.
So the selling point for us now is that we've got more access to players. We also have access to speakers at lunches and throughout the year, as well as just a link for the pathway, because we had an under-16 play for their under-16s last year who played at the national championships, which we don't quite qualify for at our level. So one of our guys went over, played for them, went to the nationals as one of the Melbourne Rebels, under-16s essentially, to compete with the bigger states.
Well, very quickly, did you the Wallabies? You're saying that there's no connection between you guys and the Wallabies at this stage, or the ARU?
Yeah, well, it's
Is that a touchy one?
Interesting point. There's a lot of work gone into this area. I'm actually on a national panel now, which is helping bridge that gap. But
should there be a gap?
No, there shouldn't. But unfortunately, it's very East Coast centric, especially now losing Western Force out of the Super Rugby. That was disbanded last year by Australian Rugby. So it's gone even further east. There's no spread across the country. So that's an issue that we're working on.
I'm catching up with a couple of the Wallabies later on, so I'll let them know that no one knows who they are over here in South Australia. So get over here and make a name. Hey, Carl, great to catch up with you always, Leesa. Thanks for coming in. Good luck with the development of women, and hopefully it's a good season coming up. Stay with us. Still a bit more to come on the show.